Okay, so without further ado, let's kick it off. And so first we have the Sacrificial poet, and they're not considered as part of the competition, but they are like here to just like warm the crowd and kick the competition. So first up, we have Jaden Grunkemeier.
My name is Jaden Grunkemeier, and my last lecture is titled, I'm Faster Than Eli. I'm faster than Eli Brickey. Well, not yet, but I will be in a week. We have state for track, and I will beat him. Sure, I've never beaten him before, and he's always been faster than me in the past, but I'm going to beat him. Eli may be naturally gifted, and he may have the work ethic to grow that gift into a profession, but I will work harder. I'm almost as fast as him. I'm 0.3 seconds slower than him in the 200-meter dash, and he beat me in the 100-meter dash by a whopping 0.07 seconds, and I will get faster. About a year and a half ago, I was a devoted atheist. God couldn't be real because I couldn't see him, bad things happen to good people, etc. All the cliche reasons I let keep me from putting in the effort to become a better person. But then missionaries came to my door one night and taught me a lesson while my food was burning on the stove. I told them I didn't believe in God, trying to get them to leave, but that just seemed to motivate them more. They were determined to drag me into their faith. And when they realized they weren't going to convince me, they told me to pray about it. Finally, they left. I ate my burnt pasta and climbed into bed. I was about to fall asleep when I thought, it won't hurt, so I said a quick prayer and went to sleep. Fast forward 10 months and I'm getting baptized by my grandpa in front of all of my friends. It was one of the best moments of my life. It's also when many of my troubles started. Exactly 1 week after getting baptized, I got my wisdom teeth removed, and that night my basement flooded with sewage. I spent the night bucketing other people's poop out of my house, looking like a chipmunk with my face swollen. And then I got a staph infection. After 3 or 4 weeks of antibiotics, I was better. For about 2 weeks. Then I went on a hiking date with a girl. A waterfall fell from 50 feet above us and hit the ground 50 feet below us. It was so romantic. The beautiful scenery and the light mist from the crashing water made for the perfect setting. You know what would make this moment even more romantic? If I showed off my impressive climbing skills and got to the bottom of the waterfall. So I climbed to the bottom and jumped the last 5 feet onto the rocky, wet ground below me. That was a mistake. I slipped on a rock and fell on my face. I was able to catch myself before losing my head, but my pride and all the dignity I had gained from skillfully maneuvering down the cliff was shattered by the embarrassment of the fall. Also the blood. There was blood everywhere. It took me a second to realize it was spouting from my hand. I was able to persuade my terrified companion to throw me down a shoelace that I used to tie off my hand, stopping the bleeding. Now the real challenge, climbing back up. After much effort, I made it to the top. Finally, I was safe, until the wasps came. I was stung once in the shoulder and like 4 times in the butt. We barely made it out alive. I'm allergic to wasps, so I swelled up like a balloon, looking pretty dumb on my way to the hospital. 15 stitches. Why was God punishing me? Why, after swearing my allegiance to him, would he turn and attack me with pooping wasps? It took me a while to figure it out, but God put me through trials so I could grow. The sewage taught me patience, and the waterfall taught me to be calm in an adverse situation. I wouldn't be the man I am today without these trials, and now I'm left with a stronger will and a pretty cool scar, so I'm grateful for all that's happened. So I will submit myself to challenging trials. I will humble myself to consistent, exhausting practice. I will motivate myself through blood, sweat, and tears until I am the fastest on the track team. I will learn and grow through my practice, mistakes, and trials. And that's why I'm faster than Eli.
Eli Brickey.
My name is Eli Brickey, and the title of my last lecture is 6 years, 750 words. Ponder your time here at Maeser. What has it meant to you? How has it shaped you? What are the most important things you have learned and experienced? Take a moment to share some wisdom or give some advice to the underclassmen behind you. This is the prompt for every last lecture. 3 to 5 minutes long and 750 words is all you get to answer these questions. and holy cow, that's already 78 down. Maybe I should write about my middle school love life. How I attempted to ask my 7th grade crush to be my Valentine, only for her to run far, far away from me. Or that time I was on a phone call with my 8th grade crush and suddenly threw up without time to hang up. And then proceeded to take a picture and send what happened to her. These are great stories, but what can possibly be learned from them? 160. What if I write about my involvement in Socratic over the years? I could reveal that throughout the entirety of my Maeser career, I had never finished a book until 11th grade, and that it turned out to be kind of fun to read. I could also talk about how I didn't say a word in 9th grade Socratic, and 10th grade wasn't much different. How I found it easier to pretend I didn't care than to get involved and embarrass myself. Then, I could talk about the epiphany I had in 11th grade. That it doesn't really matter how dumb my comment was, because it's the diversity of ideas that drives Socratic discussion. And my comments turned out to be not that dumb, usually. Those are boring stories, but at least they have lessons. 295. Track has been an anchor for me all throughout my high school experience. Maybe I'll write about that. And how I only joined because the girl I liked was doing it too. I could talk about how it pulled me out of the depressed state I was in freshman year. I could share the story of how I was playing basketball in Crocs on a slightly sprained ankle the day before my first track meet junior year. And surprise, surprise, I re-sprained it. And how despite the terrible situation it seemed to be, it later led to a physical therapy internship for senior year. Or maybe I'll write about my efforts in training, being rewarded through personal records. Kind of cliche, right? 418. There is absolutely no way I can define the experiences I've had at Maeser into one story, and then turn that into an analogy, and then express all the things I've ever learned into one clean, concise lesson for the underclassmen, which has been my whole plan for my last lecture ever since I heard my first one in 7th grade. Instead, I'm going to write about my failures in middle school romance, and how they helped me get over my fear of rejection, and how they taught me to not be a buffoon in front of the girls I like. I'm going to write about how I found joy in the longest, most sleep-inducing class at Maeser, Socratic. I'm going to write about how Socratic taught me to open my mind and open my mouth. I'm going to write about joining track because it was a co-ed sport, but staying because it was changing the person I was into the person I wanted to become. The student, athlete, and person I am today is not the result of one life-changing event. It's the summation of lots of small but important ones. Life didn't end when my crush ran away from me, even if I wanted it to in the moment. And although it felt like nothing could bring me down after I broke the school record in long jump, something inevitably did. A wise man once said, "Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get." Maeser is no different. Massive 5-paragraph KWOs, getting your practice ACT score back, MLA citations, heart-wrenching lessons about the Holocaust, but also learning how to flirt in family sciences, or watching Ms. cry as her stare pierces your soul. The small experiences that make up a Maeser career will fly by, so be involved. Let them shape you, and become your best self, because before you know it, 750.
For our second, we have Public School, Syphilis, and the Silver Lining by Willow House.
My name is Willow House, and this is my essay, Public School, Sisyphus, and the Silver Lining. Leaving Maeser was the best thing that ever happened to me, and I would do it a million times over if given the chance. When I began contemplating the move, every person I told tried to talk me out of it. It was the end of the third term of my sophomore year, and the worst time to try and transfer to a new school. Everyone insisted to me that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You just have to wait for the silver lining and to just wait it out. Things will get easier. Phrases that looped like a broken record, following me everywhere I went. Hyperventilating in counselors' offices, sobbing on the bathroom floor, and on more than one occasion praying, begging, really, that just for a moment I could find some semblance of peace. In the last few weeks before I left for Orem High, I routinely fell asleep in every one of my classes, because just mustering up the energy to get there was more than I had. I wasn't just tired, I was exhausted. Throughout all of this, I kept clinging to the idea that there would be a day when things finally got easier. We've all heard the joke that Maeser C's are public school A's, and that is not an exaggeration. The days were shorter, the classes were unbelievably easy, and the amount of free time I had, incomprehensible to the Maeser mind. I had hobbies, a job, and a social life at the same time. The soccer boys could never! However, the real difference that struck me was the numbness associated with it all. I had convinced myself that leaving for Orem meant that all of my problems would disappear, and to my horror, they remained steadfast. I was someone whose life up to that point had been ruled by anxiety and depression and the suffocation of trying to cope with it all. Leaving Maeser didn't fix any of that, it just meant I was miserable at a school with a bigger budget and a smaller Quidditch team. Once the thrill of not having to wear button-ups wore off, I quickly realized I was just as unhappy at Orem as I was at Maeser. More so, actually. Good grades were effortless, but they were meaningless. I didn't have to deal with comparison to my peers, but I had also lost my closest friends. The stress of Maeser had been alleviated, and in its place came the apathy of knowing that nothing mattered. The undefined struggle I'd been wrestling with for the majority of my life didn't suddenly disappear, it only took a new form. When I originally wrote this essay, I claimed that I came back to Maeser out of desperation, but that's not true. When I came back, I realized I was trying to find the easy way out. That it was like a dog chasing its tail, a goal that you're never going to accomplish. Leaving didn't make life easier because easier doesn't exist. After all, we are all Sisyphus in the end, pushing a boulder up a mountain and trying to convince ourselves that this will be the time we reach its peak, knowing that we will only ever stumble and that the boulder will only ever fall. However, every time we have to pick ourselves back up and start again. Every time we're faced with a new mountain to climb, we get just a little bit tougher. Blisters become calluses, muscles grow stronger, things don't get easier, and challenges are only going to keep coming, each one worse than the last. But you can't shy away from them. You've still got to get that boulder to the top of the hill, even if it seems impossible, even if it is. Every failure is a new opportunity. Every mistake is a lesson learned. I should know. I haven't even been here that long, and I've made more than my fair share of mistakes. And of all mistakes I've made, leaving Maeser was the best one of them. It taught me to overcome the struggle and then to cherish it. Maeser taught me that not only is school never going to get easier, but life isn't ever going to get easier, and to not let that stop you. Because ultimately, potential isn't determined by the height of the mountain, but by the strength of the man. And trust me, you're strong enough.
So for our third contestant, we have The One by Stump.
Okay, my name is Stump, and my essay is titled The One. My name is Jay. It's not initial J, it's the letter J. Yes, I know it's crazy that my parents named me just one letter. A single letter may not seem significant or valuable because it requires many letters to form words or sentences, but having one of anything is super valuable. One house, one Ferrari, one A grade that makes your GPA a 4.0, 100% on a test is very valuable to get an A in that class, which is cool because 100% put in the decimal form is 1. 100% or 1 can be written in so many different ways too. If a test is out of 27 questions, 27 out of 27 is 1. Using other types of math, we can rewrite 1 like 6 minus 5 is equal to 1, or 17 divided by 37 times 37 divided by 17 is 1, or sine squared is cosine squared is equal to 1, or using calculus like the integral of negative infinity to infinity, e to the negative x squared dx over square root of pi is 1. When math gets really complicated, you can do 247 plus 1, integral negative infinity to infinity, e to the negative x squared dx over 248 square root of pi, plus 6 summation 1 to infinity of 1 over n squared all over pi squared minus 47 factorial times sine squared plus cosine squared over 5 factorial times the product sum of 6 to 47 of n is equal to 1. Some of you probably heard calculus and totally shot off your brains. Basically, these equations seem to be the most difficult and complex things ever. Like imagine telling someone that you are integral from negative infinity to infinity, e to the negative x squared dx over square root of pi miles away from their house. That complexity seems inconvenient or useless in an average conversation. But it's key to remember that its complexity doesn't change its value. Those equations all equal 1, no matter how you look at it, it's all 1. Let me try to explain what I'm saying in a different way. I.J. Stump was born with 2 loving parents on November 11, 2005. Life got more complicated because I went to a private elementary school. I had few friends and didn't really connect with people in my neighborhood or in my family. On top of all this, my parents officially separated, which my tiny little brain couldn't comprehend. I then got into a new school, Maeser, where I was lost and confused in this new environment. Many people told me I was annoying, I was a nerd, so ultimately I didn't have a lot of friends. After getting to school, my father, my grandpa, and my uncle all passed away in the span of 3 years. I've despised myself ever since for sacrificing our relationships. With thoughts of regret, life got even more complicated because I lost my self-esteem, hope, and dreams. I totally shut down in the last year of high school. I had a complicated life with regrets, weaknesses, thoughts, and emotions. Currently, I have no good life-altering lesson from this complexity. My life is just sitting here, unsolved, unsimplified, unworthy to share something great. My life feels less important and valuable than people who all have it figured out with a good last lecture to give. Or it seems that my life is just as inconvenient and useless as those big equations are in a day-to-day use. Thankfully, there have been people in my life that have seen my true value and have loved me for it. In 8th grade, I was very chatty, trying to see if anyone else would care about me. Instead of seeing me as annoying or distracting, Miss Goodrich saw me as the boy who needed a friend. The boy who could be kind but had no one to be kind to. I was literally the rowdiest kid in Calc BC. Instead of yelling more or kicking me out of class, Mr. Talde kept teaching because he truly saw the smart side of me that could be great one day. Miss Cannon knows that my thoughts in my real life can one day make a life lesson that can bring value to other people, even though Preston and I act like 7th graders in the class. All of my past teachers have seen my addition, subtraction, division, integration, the trigonometry, the exponents, and the weird math symbols, yet they still see me as the number 1. The same one that is 100% valuable. Nothing of me is subtracted or divided, just a little more complex. Maybe I don't know who I am or who I'm going to be. All I know is that my name is one letter. No matter how complicated or simple my name is, and no matter how complicated or simple my life is, no matter how complicated or simple I am still someone. The same one that is 100%. 100% whole, 100% complete, 100% valuable. Thank you.
Okay, so for our 4th, we have The Loneliest Whale in the World by Daniela Alomia.
Hi. My name is Daniela Alomia, and this essay is called The Loneliest Whale in the World. Blue whales sing to be heard. I know it seems like the most obvious thing ever, and it's definitely the least interesting whale fact I've shared in my life, but it's true. In a big wide ocean mostly composed of empty space, oftentimes the only way a solitary whale can find another is by calling out with a song so loud it can be heard for miles. At least 5 potential mates. Blue whales typically sing at the frequencies of 18 to 30 hertz, usually too low for the human ear to perceive. This is what makes the 52 hertz whale so strange. 52 Blue is the name of a whale discovered by accident at the end of the Cold War. True to his name, he sings at the frequency of 52 hertz, much higher than a typical blue whale. It's not known what exactly is wrong with 52 Blue. Maybe he's a hybrid between a fin and a blue whale, though rare, it's not impossible. Maybe he's deaf, also not impossible, but less likely. So maybe he is simply malformed. Whatever it is, this oddity made him popular and pitied amongst casual whale enjoyers, dubbed the world's loneliest whale. He sings at such a strange frequency, how can any member of his species hear him? In the largest habitat in the world, the 52 hertz whale must receive no songs in response. When he sings to no one. 16 was the loneliest year of my life. In the midst of feeling self-Socratic and losing some of my closest friendships overnight, threats of divorce and secrets that made me feel incapable of forgiveness, my anxiety was at its absolute worst. Everything happened at once, leaving me unable to string proper words together. There was something terribly wrong with my frequency that I just couldn't get the people around me to understand. Every loss, every mistake felt like another oddity in my frequency, making me all the more incomprehensible. I was more like 52 Blue than a teenage girl, a lonely whale whose songs were lost to oblivion. Okay, can I be honest? I led you. Haha, or at least I led you astray. There's plenty of chance 52 Blue can be heard by other whales in the sea. He's known by many as the world's loneliest whale because of his peculiarity, but his story really isn't as devastating as everyone makes it out to be. Evidence shows that actually whales can hear a frequency high enough. They're just that talented, thank you very much. Just because he sings at the wrong frequency doesn't mean his voice is unheard, it just means he's a little odd. His songs, as different as they are, were never truly lost. In my last few years of high school, I've come to realize that as odd as my frequency is, there are so many people at Maeser who share it. And you know what else? There are many others who can and will listen to my songs despite our differing frequencies. It wasn't my strange frequency that kept me from people, but rather this myth of complete loneliness. Here's the thing, we're all strange here. There's something a little wrong with all of us, something that makes us feel unheard and unseen amongst others. An interest that's not entirely popular, a disability that leaves you isolated. An identity that deviates from the status quo, or an event that intrinsically changes who you are as a person. Our frequencies are all over the place, and it's honestly a wonder we can even hear each other at all. How lucky are we then to find people who are so willing to meet us where we are? Even luckier still to have the opportunity to return the favor. A differing frequency didn't prevent Maeser from patiently listening to me cry about my mom's ICU visit due to a stroke. Nor did it prevent Sam Howard and I from treating ourselves to Asian and Mexican market delicacies after hours of cleaning our Spirit Week hallway. A strange frequency didn't stop my Socratic peers from reaching out to let me know I wasn't nearly as alone as I thought after I shared a particularly vulnerable essay, and it didn't stop me from making so many new connections in my final year. Maeser is a wonderful place to be surrounded by various frequencies, and we're all so incredibly lucky to be able to listen to each other's strange songs. Thank you.
Next up, we have No One's Home by Devin Black.
My name is Devin Black. The title of my essay is No One's Home. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who's there? Cow says.
Cow says who?
Cow says who? No, cow says moo. To all the young in age, to all the young in spirit, to all the people who want to learn. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
How?
How who?
How will you know if you don't open the door? Wake up, go to school, do homework, eat food, go to bed. Wake up, go to school, do your homework, eat food, go to bed. Sound familiar? If you are young enough that you haven't experienced this yet, it'll probably happen to you soon. The first semester of my sophomore year was drudgery. I woke up, I went to school, I did my homework, I ate food, I went to bed. Staying motivated to try at life was a real struggle. Knock, knock.
Who's there? Who's there?
Depression. I don't think I want to let you in. The year dragged on and on. Knock, knock. No one's home. Go away. Huh? I just heard you. You were in there. Open up. I said no one's home. Go away. I never entered any doors for a while. I sat and stewed. To my dismay, nothing changed. The spiraling feelings and emotions didn't subside. They only worsened and worsened and worsened. The saying open door in Merriam-Webster's dictionary is defined as a policy providing such freedom. The act of opening doors is what sets you free. I wouldn't be the person I am today if I never opened the door. Opening doors is embracing experiences, the good, bad, and the ugly. The trials and challenges in my life are some of my most valuable possessions. I wouldn't have come to know many of my closest friends. I would never have learned how to push through. You will never learn if you never open the door. The doors of discomfort, the doors of sadness, hurt, and pain, but also the doors of joy, laughter, and friends. I would never have met my best friend who I learned to lean on and be vulnerable with. My best friend who brings me joy, support, and true love. In all my years of school, the good times far outweigh the bad. Second semester of my sophomore year, Isaac Johnson, last year's senior, knocked on the door asking if I wanted to join show choir. I gave it a try. I opened the door to soccer and widened my family circle to include 30 new brothers that I would do anything for. This door in particular took me up soaring to mountain peaks with the rush and joy of succeeding, but it also threw me down into the depths of the trenches. The aches and pains of losing and heartbreak are worth the magnificent views from the top of the mountains. I will never regret my decision to open that door. I chose to open doors of serving others because that is what truly matters most along our path. To all those who want to be young, green, and growing, open doors, serve, learn, and grow. Don't become comfortable with who you are. Always be seeking to change and better yourself. Put yourself out there, and most importantly, never do it alone. Open doors, for they will set you free. Open doors, for you will never know where they lead. Knock, knock. Tank. Thank you.
Up next, we have One More Minute by Aidan Simmons.
All right, my name is Aidan Simmons. The title of mine is One More Minute. Everybody up! Those words mean something special to the Maeser soccer teams. After those two words, everything hurts. If you've ever happened to walk out after school and been met with teary-eyed soccer boys with their shirts off, here's the explanation. It's plank day. You push yourself up into a high plank, but this time it's different. It's not for a minute, or 2, or 3. Today, you'll hold a plank for as long as physically possible. After the first minute, you feel like it's time to quit. Your arms hurt, and all you can see is the grass in front of your face, and the sweat dripping down your nose. After 3 minutes, your whole body aches, and you feel like maybe you've held it long enough that it's not embarrassing. 5 minutes pass, and your hands are slipping a little. What a convenient excuse to drop to your knees and end the pain. And yet, you don't. Maybe it's because there's still a bunch of people up, and your pride won't let you drop. Maybe it's because you're one of those people who can hold a plank forever. Maybe it's because Maybe it's because you know that the second you fall, it's over. The opportunity has passed, and there's nothing you can do to get that moment back. You've held it for this long, and you know you'll wish you had kept going. So what's one more minute? Life is like holding a plank. You push and push and push, and eventually you falter, you break. But as you lie there defeated in the grass, you look up and see the faces of the people you care about right there to pick you back up. They don't care that you fell. They're there to support you. However, as much as they want to see you succeed, that's not their end goal. They have no power over whether or not you fall. All they can do is be there while you struggle. They can't hold you up on the hill, or take your finals for you, or fix your relationship issues. The most they can do is watch and support, and you have to be the one to push yourself through. You have to tighten your abs, straighten your arms, and grit your teeth for 1 more minute. Because in the end, you'll come out of it better than you came, and that's the whole point. You get out of plank day what you put in. You decide whether or not 1 more minute of suffering is worth the growth that will come. If you give up after 90 seconds because your arms hurt and you're tired, you miss out on the accomplishment that comes from knowing you pushed yourself as far as your body will go. If you choose to skim the spark notes of the Iliad, You might pass the reading quiz, but you've lost out on valuable lessons and principles. Conversely, plankton means nothing to you, and at the end of your Maeser journey, you'll come out maybe slightly differently, but for the most part, unchanged. Conversely, if you're willing to push yourself through the pain of chemistry tests and Socratic readings, you grow. You'll learn that the best things in life often come after the hardest battles, and you find that you can go further than you ever thought was possible. There aren't many things in life that suck more than holding a plank. So once you've shown yourself that you can do it and survive, what's one more math test? Things in your life will still be hard, but that's okay. The point of Plank Day isn't to make hard things easy. The point is to allow yourself to embrace the hard things, because you know that even when life sucks, you can get through it, 1 minute at a time. So, everybody up! Today, you'll take a calculus test. After the first 3 problems, it'll feel hopeless. Keep going. Tomorrow, you'll lose a state championship, and it'll feel like your world has ended. It hasn't. There's more to life than sports, and you'll figure that out eventually. Next week, that girl will break your heart. Cry, but then pick yourself up, because eventually it's going to work itself out. Remember that everyone around you is rooting for you and wants you to succeed, but it's up to you. Today, you get to choose how long you go, so why not 1 more minute?
So next up we have Jared Gadd's 7 Rules for Life and the 7 Rules Maeser Has Taught Me by Jared Gadd.
I ran for student body president for one reason: to be able to give a speech at graduation. As it turns out, I learned 5 minutes after winning the election that the student body president does not, in fact, get to give a speech at graduation. So, here I was, president of a school, no speech on my horizon, lost and without purpose. Until I attended an assembly that reignited my spark. My last lecture. It is a speech, every senior gets to give one, and it has the potential to be given to the whole school. Yes, I had found it. I can make my last lecture my speech. And that is what I did. I call it Jerry Gadd's 7 Rules for Life. Rule 1, in every situation, a person to be loved is more important than a problem to be solved. I call this the Shannon Cannon Rule. We are all people stuck on this big rounded ball of dirt, hurtling through space, and we all have problems. Problems will always be there, so focus on the things that won't. We have a very limited time with the people in our lives. We never know when our last moment with someone will be, so show love. Love those in your life. You will not look back when you die and regret loving people, so love. Rule 2, it is better to trust and be wrong than not trust and be right. I call this the why I am bad at gambling rule. Landon, Call, and I will often make wagers, with me always taking the most optimistic side, and Landon always taking the other. And I will generally lose. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I am an optimist, a dreamer, and an idealist. I have always bet on people, and I always will. To believe in people, to have faith that people will make the right choice, to trust, is so much more important than being right. Rule 3, you are what you attract. Boys, I am going to be upfront and honest with you. Most of you are bums. Bums attract bum girls. Don't be a bum, and you will attract good girls. That is how you get a girl. You're welcome, okay? Easy. Girls, same advice, just swap boys and girls. Okay, rule 4. That is not just the way you are. I call this the Batman rule. Bruce Wayne is a partying trust fund baby who no one would expect to be Batman, because he is a selfish person. That's just the way he is. But isn't he? Bruce Wayne is also Batman, the Dark Knight, a hero that spends his nights risking life and limb for the people of Gotham. That's who he is. Because that's who he chose to be. Everyone has natural weaknesses, but that is not who we are. We can be better and we can change. Using the excuse of, that's just the way I am, is never a real excuse. It's manipulative and fake and never justifiable. Guys, we can be the best version of ourselves. We haven't reached our potential yet, but we can. We can be better than we are. Rule 5, Jesus is right. I call this the Landon rule. As I sat in junior Socratic, fiercely debating for the cause of evil, Landon Call slammed me in the face with Matthew 22, 36 through 39. This is when Jesus is presenting the golden rule. I sat silenced in my seat because I could not argue with Jesus. Jesus is right. Follow him. Rule 6, grow where you are planted. We all have our moments where we hate Maeser and want to get out. I did, all of my friends did. It's a foundational experience. But we are planted at Maeser. I guarantee that the grass is not greener anywhere else, and that if you stay at Maeser, it will change your lives in ways that you can't even fathom. Choose to be here, and that choice will make this your home. Rule 7, my final rule. Make good choices. Every day on the morning announcements, I have left you with this final piece of advice. I love you all, and the only thing I wish for you is to make good choices. You all know what those choices are, and I pray that you will have the strength to choose the hard but good choice. I love you, Maeser. Oh, and I do have a pickup line. Are you Google? Because you have everything I'm searching for.
Up next, we have Ethan Cheung with Don't You Dare Brush It.
Hi, my name is Ethan Cheung. It should be noted that I wrote this lecture while I had long hair, and the title of my lecture is Don't You Dare Brush It. Just a few weeks ago, during Socratic, I remember heading to the door during the break between 5th and 6th period to get a drink of water. But before I could reach the door, I hear, "Ethan." "Yes, Miss Martinez?" I replied. "Do you brush your hair?" Those were some of the last words I ever expected to come out of her mouth. No, I answered. I just wake up and go. I probably couldn't even find a comb. I walked away slightly concerned, disappointed at myself. What could Miss Martinez possibly mean by this? So many thoughts ran through my head. So many thoughts, in fact, that I turned back, and I decided to turn back and ask, "Should I brush my hair?" And I remember thinking to myself, of course you should, what a dumb question. But she replied, "Absolutely not." She seemed amused by the question. Her bright, wide grin wiped all the doubts I had in my head. I felt relieved. Later that day, I received a message from her. It was a photo of a few lines from John Meekin's biography, and there was like, a biography of Abraham Lincoln, and there was like, the quote had read, "The president often appeared slightly unkempt. Part of the reason was Lincoln's thick and ungovernable black hair. Once when he was handed a small hairbrush, he said, 'Why, I can't do anything with a such thing as that. It wouldn't go through my hair. Not if you have anything you comb your horse's mane with, that might do.'" Initially, when I saw this message, I was ecstatic, because Miss Martinez thinks I'm Abraham Lincoln. But also, she was supporting my unbrushed hair. She was supporting my hair in its natural state. She supported the fact that no matter how much hair product I used, no matter how many haircuts I got, no matter what color I dyed my hair will always be thick and ungovernable. And that nothing, let alone a small hairbrush, will do anything to change that. I drove home happy. I even treated myself by getting Chipotle with double steak. But now you may be wondering why such a small comment had so much meaning to me. So let me back up and reintroduce myself. Hi guys, my name is Ethan Cheung. You may know me as Cheung, Chang, the third Ethan, or the guy who kind of looks like Ian. I am from Hong Kong, and I have lived there for 7 years before moving to Utah during COVID. No matter where I have lived, I've always felt that I have been a little bit special, but probably not in the way that you think. No matter where, I have dark skin, big for Asian eyes, thick eyebrows, and probably most notably, I have thick, harsh, curly, dark hair. You see, Chinese people typically have very thin, straight hair, so I stood out like a turd in a fruit bowl. A typical conversation with any person about where I was from would usually go like this. So, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Hong Kong. Oh, what part of India is that? I would respond with, oh, Hong Kong is in China. Wait, so you're Chinese? Well, then why is your hair like that? Are you sure you don't have a little bit of Filipino in you? Or Indian in you? It always stung a little bit, especially for 8-year-old little me. Everybody wants to fit in, but it's hard when your hair looks like this. But when I realized from that one small comment that Miss Martinez said, is that fitting in and validation can be the death of some people. You either conform to the majority or you die as a minority. And let's be real, no one wants to die alone. That's why we spend so much time concealing our scars, putting on makeup, and brushing our hair. But this is a toxic way to live. So I want to make 2 goals with everyone here. The first goal is to find one glowing thing about you that speaks to your true personality. One that is a testament to all the hours that you've spent hurting, laughing, and crying. Something that outshines all the facades and makeup that you might put on when you're talking to someone new. Something that is thick and ungovernable. And my final goal is, don't you dare brush it.
Up next, we have The Truth Behind the Tiara, How Simple Things Can Get You Through by Ivy Nelson. Hi. The tiara is a lie. I lied. I said it was just for fun. The tiara implies a certain carefree nature, but the truth is I have never struggled more, and the tiara was one of the things that got me through the years at Maeser. In 2020, I was so stressed and lonely, it got to the point where I couldn't stop myself from pulling out my beautiful red hair. Chunk by chunk, bald patch after bald patch, I started to struggle for the first time in my life with both self-image and mental illness. I couldn't cover up the spots anymore, no matter how I braided, gelled, pinned, curled, or even added in the leftover white extensions from playing Anna and Frozen. One day, I had brought a tiara to school for some since-forgotten reason. I came up with a theory. If I wore a tiara, something so bizarre and random to school, would anyone even notice my hair? Turns out the tiara rule was simple, like math. Wear it, everything else disappears. Others saw nothing but the crown. To me, it brought renewed confidence. It was fun and let me focus more on my schoolwork than my image. It nipped the thoughts of, oh no, my beautiful hair is disappearing and I don't like what I look like for the first time in my life, and not only that, I don't know why I'm pulling out my hair because no one talks about anything that isn't depression and anxiety, so I'm completely blaming myself instead of the little mental illness I have. And turn that into, I have a tiara. I warded back the most foul of insecurities simply by putting on a crown. It seems stupid, but by doing something simple and fun for myself, I was able to survive school. There were many challenges throughout my high school experience, but I had so many little things that brought me joy, like dancing with Cuban in a drainage ditch, like blasting karaoke in the prop closet, like being lifted up onto a door to watch Devin drown in a sea of junior boys, like parading down the courthouse steps at prom on the arm of the cutest boy, like singing Les Mis in the stairwell because seriously, there was acoustics, like Mr. Spindler's witty criticisms of our questionable tuning, like watching Sydney belt out that note in Joseph, proud as heck, like realizing I had also been lied to my whole life, and that Wyoming was in fact a real state. You got us again, Dad. Life became its richest through small, joyful details and memories, and I always had a reminder of that on my head. Things got a lot easier after I learned how to study, manage my time, found the most supportive guy ever, and many more advisable things. Finding the beauty and fun in the everyday details was one of the best choices I made here. Remember the small and simple things that bring you joy. Make time for those little things. Smaller things, these seemingly stupid things will often end up being your most cherished memories. It is worth the effort to do those small things. Wear the tiara. Choose simple joy. Also, go to bed on time. The truth behind the tiara is that it covered up a lot of shame and struggle, but it breathed new life into every moment of my school career with that extra joy. Whatever that extra joy is for you, I plead to go for it, especially when things get hard. Wear your tiara to school. Keep yourself afloat on a stressful, raging river of life with a raft of extra joy. Thank you. For our last lecture, we have Space to Wonder by Mo.
My name is Mo Hua, and my essay is titled Space to Wonder. A miracle, from Latin miro mirari, a first conjugation deponent verb meaning to wonder, causes one to inwardly wonder or awe at the goodness of God. I love this definition with all my heart because it has allowed life and my time at Maeser to not only be lived, but to point me to God. This wonder pierces us like a spear, always leaving its unique mark. The miracle asks, despite the weariness and leaden sorrow so inscrutably pervasive in life, why not know joy? As Pi says in Life of Pi, first wonder goes deepest. It imprints beautiful, terraced mountains and valleys on the soul. Maeser, the people, the classes, classics, and mentors has steadily become this miracle for me as I have taken the time and the space to wonder. In 9th grade, I ate lunch most frequently in my sister's car, a black Kia Soul with a V36 VV9 Utah plate and a steady population of oxidizing apple cores. The back seat perfectly fit me. I realized that although I had been seen as the smart kid for so long at my old school, now I had the chance to change that perception because at Maeser there were so many people older, wiser, and smarter than me. I wanted to shed my previous label like fur from a hyper-allergenic dog, and this was a singular opportunity. I made sure to sit towards the back of Mrs. Slade, Mrs. Peterson, and Mr. Gilbert's classrooms, tried not to talk much, answered Kahoots slowly, etc. Eventually, however, these defenses crumbled. I began to go about in routine awe. When people would walk up and say, "Hi, Mo," or "Mo, my bro," out of nowhere. I hadn't experienced this before, and I wondered at the simple goodness of so many of my peers. I am in awe that I get to go to school with people of such caliber. In AP Bio, I delved deep into wonder and found a place for it. Each blade of grass and living cell became its own world, with millions of miracles happening every second. Mitochondria, enzymes, gene regulation, human development, and homeostasis shocked me awake like a wonder defibrillator. I simply could not doubt God's existence any longer, which profoundly changed how I saw life. I saw my struggles not as difficult roadblocks, but as stepping stones to self-improvement, and I wondered at the newfound knowledge that I was not alone. Likewise, in Socratic 12 this year, opening up space for the classics, my teachers, and my classmates to work in me has changed me in profound ways. People like Viktor Frankl, Philip Halley, Daniel Nayeri, Yan Martel, Sam Keel, Daniela Alomia, Salma Al-Shikarat, David Fawcett, Pat Martinez, Debbie Frampton, and others have turned me to what matters. I learned from Hallie and Salma that life is precious, from Frankl and Keel about how to find meaning in life, from Danny and Nayeri how to cut to the center and become better, from Martel and Martinez how to tell a story, and let it change you. Maeser is the in-between, the parenthetical, the miraculous space where I have found a place. I now eat out on the field, far from the black Kia Soul with the V36VV9 license plate and the back seat that no longer fits me. This is wonderful to me. With every classic searched, friend known, and mentor experienced, I have done my utmost to find small, golden nuggets of wonder, each of which has molded my soul to become the kind of person I need.
Starting with third place, we have Gadd. So in our second place, we have Willow House. And for our first place, we have